we have like 300 or 400 transient eagles that come in from afar, and we don't know where they come from.
They all notify each other. And somehow they know it's the hot spot.
There is some kind of eagle messaging system, and they know this. And I think it's probably become genetic over the course of hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, whatever. And we want to do some more kind of studies on this stuff because it truly is a unique experience. I mean, it's a unique thing.
Welcome, Robertson Stash. We are sitting down today with Stuart Island's sexiest man alive, Sam Anderson. How are you doing?
Wow, thank you. It's quite the introduction. I'll take it.
Sam is the owner of Nanook Lodge on Stuart Island in northern British Columbia. I've been there many times, and it is my happy place, actually. It's very peaceful and amazing. How you doing, man? It's been a long time since we hung out.
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I love this time of year, and it's always a highlight for me to come back to my home state.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your lodge? Like, when did it start? And tell us a little bit about it. It's a fishing lodge, but now you're getting into kind of like an adventure tourism kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it. What I'm more specifically getting into is wildlife photography.
Okay.
And right now, I'm still trying to develop the acronym, but I call it the EEP. So if you've experienced the EEP, I need to put a D
Dolphins
on there.
Could say it good.
EEP. I need to put a D on there to make it deep because that'd be better.
Oh yeah.
But the EEP is extreme eagle photography.
Oh, deep.
Yeah.
You could put deep, extreme,
like delightful
eagle photography.
Extreme eagle photography.
Delightful, yeah.
Something,
we'll think about that.
Let's think on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you've been doing that. Is that how does that work? Do people stay at the lodge and go out for like a week, and you take them different locations?
Well, let me rewind for a minute. I'll tell you, specifically, we have this very, unique natural phenomena that happens right at Stuart Island. And
what's that?
And this is it's a migration of hake fish that come through the zone. And because we have these massive tidal currents, a lot of the juvenile hake fish get, they succumb to the tide. They get pushed up to the surface in such a quick fashion that
eagle food.
Their swim bladders inflate, and inflate, and they can't. They're super buoyant. They can't go back down, and ultimately they die. And this happens on a daily basis between May and July, or sometimes April, through July. Mm-hmm. And we have, a real healthy resident eagle population. These are bald eagles.
Yeah. And
so, typically up there it'd be like, a pair every couple miles down the shore.
I remember when we went fishing, we would pull up a flounder sometimes, and eyeballs would pop out, and then you would just hold it and whistle, and then next thing you know, there's bald eagles coming down for like the perfect picture,
right?
Scooping it out of the water. That was epic.
It's pretty common up there, and but what we kind of, I guess the highlight or the seasonal difference is between April and July, when you have this hake migration going through, we have like 300 or 400 transient eagles that come in from afar, and we don't know where they come from.
They all notify each other, and somehow they know it's the hot spot.
There is some kind of eagle messaging system, and they know this, and I think it's probably become genetic over the course of hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, whatever. And we want to do some more kind of studies on this stuff because it truly is a unique experience. I mean, it's a unique thing.
Do you know how bald eagles mate?
Yeah, well, they do. They copulate, and so sometimes they'll lock talons.
That's right, free fall
down to the water, and
just at the last second break free.
You got it, and sometimes it's not so graceful, but a lot of times you see it off in the distance.
Have you seen it?
Wow, yeah,
wow.
I've seen it. Fortunately, I'm not. I would consider myself a novice photographer. I totally understand, the whole realm of photography, but I have some pretty serious photographers that come up now.
Yeah, so you were just showing me some. What was the guy's name?
Shout out to my guy, Mark Smith. He's the man.
What's his Instagram? Is it like Mark Smith Photography?
Mark Smith Photography.
Yeah. He's got a bunch of followers. Yeah.
And his slogan, one of his catchphrases is "Glad I'm not a fish." and he's a bird of prey guy. He's a big time osprey guy.
Okay.
And he's based out of Florida, but anyways, he comes up to our place and he finds our eagle scene phenomenal,
Yeah.
And so he's able to capture some of this rare footage that you don't see very often.
So what else do you see out there? I know when we went out, we saw grizzly bears one time. Remember, we were out walking and there was a whole family of grizzly bears. I remember that. You probably see them all the time, but that was the time we saw them out there.
I think I do remember. I think it was up at the Phillips River.
Okay, yeah, maybe. So, and remember we went saying. What do you say?
Seining?
Yeah, remember we did that?
Right. So
that was interesting.
Yeah,
let's explain that. That was a fun day, and I'm glad I got to experience that. But
totally. Well, I'll just tell you. Let me rewind just for a second.
Okay.
You kind of start going west from Butte Inlet, and then you're in this island chain, and it's called the Discovery Islands. And it's fairly remote, and it's very pristine, and that is where Stuart Island is situated.
Oh, okay.
So then you go west of there, and then the next big island you'd hit, like the big island, as we call it, is Vancouver Island.
Okay.
Right. And so we're kind of on the inside passage, the east coast of Vancouver Island. But yeah, there's all kinds of animals in that zone, marine-based and land-based animals. And so we kind of, my main focus for these tours are the eagles, of course.
Okay.
But then, the fallback is kind of like, hey, you want to go see a black bear, grizzly bear, sea lion, Pacific white-sided dolphin, orca, humpback
killer whales, right?
Killer whales,
And then all the guides, they kind of go on the radio and say when they see one, right? And then you kind of know where they are. I remember,
yeah.
You guys all work together.
You got it, man. No, so we kind of, Channel 7 on the VHF is like our discovery channel.
Okay.
And so everyone's chirping on there about, all the animals and what's going on. And we have a couple of apps now that are keeping tabs on things.
Oh,
so,
cool.
Yeah, it's the whole eco movement's become quite strong up there, and it's a good thing. I think that, I'm a big fan of the coexistence. And so I feel like that, there's room for the fishery, and there's room for the forestry, and there's room for the ecotourism, and it's all about trying to make it all kind of mesh. But yeah.
So are you guys doing any fishing guides still up there, or is it mainly photography now?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. So we started, this is my dad and I started 28 years ago.
Wow.
And he bought this property and started as a pretty small footprint. I think it was 1 acre, 1.5 acres when we bought it. Now we've bought some surrounding, property and our neighbors, we bought them out. And so we're about 10 acres now.
Okay.
So a nice footprint. But basically back then, this is a long time ago, and it went, kind of even historically speaking, further back than there. I would go up every summer when I was a kid and fish with my dad. And he's from Colorado, big time outdoorsman. But he would always bring up his insurance clients and start, putting them into different lodges and resorts and fishing for salmon. And so he totally fell in love with that whole gig. And basically, he always told me when I was a kid, one day we're going to have our own lodge. And I kind of thought it was pretty far-fetched. We're landlubbers from Colorado, and how's this going to work and whatever. And so, all of a sudden here we are.
Is there other competitors or companies that are doing that?
No, so it's funny because there's a lot of, we'll have like Stuart Island proper, it's kind of the, what would you call it? Like the highlight for a lot of tours. It's the epicenter for all the wildlife and kind of ecotourism that we have in the area. So we'll have a lot of Zodiacs and kind of ecotourism boats come through, but they're just out there looking and touring at the wildlife. They're not actually doing photography.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so what we're doing is different. We're the only ones who are actually, kind of focusing, no pun intended, on the wildlife out there and actually doing the photography gig.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. So I guess what happened is, during COVID, I kind of got serious about it. I got a couple of photographers on board. They came up to see the scene.
So do they come on the tours with you and kind of give their tips too? So you learn a little bit about photography?
Yeah. And I think when I kind of had to, kind of wrangle them up for the, the first time, it was kind of like more of a, hey, I invite you in, wine and dine you, check out the scene. I'll show you around. Right. And there was three of them actually, but the two of them absolutely, fell in love with the area. And it didn't take long. It was like one session out on the water, and they're like, I'm sold. And they said, okay, we'll just keep bringing groups in because they have a serious following.
Yeah.
So, anyways, after COVID, I kind of got more serious about it. It's just been a few years now. I've transitioned from like a 95% salmon fishing season.
Yeah.
To now I'm 90% wildlife photography.
And 10% fishing.
10% fishing.
Wow.
You know, something like that. I mean, you know,
Holy moly.
yeah.
Okay.
And I don't, you know, my dad thought I was nuts right off the bat, and he was, you know, what are you doing? You know, and how's this going to work? And now he's like,
great,
just keep selling those photography trips,
Yeah.
because they're just selling like hotcakes. So, anyways, these photographers, they come up, and they're kind of on the hook to bring a group of 8.
Okay.
So they'll bring 8 guests who are, you know, anywhere from beginner to advanced photographers, and all they want to do is kind of hang out with these pros and get the kind of tips and see how they do it, and you know, kind of.
So after they go out all day, they hang out with the photographers at your lodge and eat dinner together.
Yeah. And so we offer a full, you know, kind of all-inclusive scenario. I like to call it, how do I describe it? Rustic gourmet. You know, so I'm kind of going from trying to maintain a 3.5, 4-star kind of, you know, small resort. And we have, you know, a big guest lodge for accommodation. There's a big, you know, dining room, commercial kitchen, entertainment, you know, building where we do dinners and lunches and stuff like that.
When does the fishing season start, or does the photo season go longer? I guess whenever, like, do you go in the winter, colder seasons?
No, so we kind of, you know, our season would be May through September.
Okay.
All right. September's good too. It kind of dies off. The end of September is when the salmon kind of, you know, they all disperse up the rivers, and so the fishery kind of dies out, and sometimes it goes a little longer than that. But yeah, basically it's like the whole month of August is our peak fishing season, so that works out well. And all of these transient eagles that come in from May through July, during that kind of first, second week in August, they all disperse up to rivers as well because they want to feed on salmon. Yeah.
Is that guy up there that does like the prints over the salmon with the ink, and then you get the picture of your fish? Is he still doing that?
He is. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So Eiji-san. Eiji is a Japanese guide. He's a good friend and a great fisherman. And, you know, we've had some regulation changes over the years, so it's a little different for him now, where we're not keeping a lot of those big fish. So if you catch one, you might have to, you know, you get some, you measure the fish out, and that gives you a good weight, you know, estimate, almost bang on. And then you get a couple of photos of the fish. You take some detailed photos. These fish are super resilient. So if they're not, you know, most of the time not bleeding profusely, we're using barbless hooks. We get them on the back deck of the boat. They can sit there for 5, 6, 7 minutes, you know, totally fine. And, you know, you treat them right. And
so you're giving the bigger ones back to the ocean now?
Yeah. And it's been you know, it's a government regulation, but it's also just you know, it's a good way to be right now. I mean, you know, trying to preserve those big genes and let those fish spawn, you know, so we have them in the future times.
Have you ever seen anything in the sky out there at night? Because I'm sure the stars are amazing at night. No light pollution.
You know, it's funny because I have over the years.
What have you seen?
I've seen some, you know, it's even just some cloud formations that are just so strange.
Well, that's like that movie Nope.
Right. And you're kind of like, what is this? What's hiding? Or
and
what
it's just
disguised as, you know.
What do you mean? Like, was it like not moving and other clouds were moving around it, or?
Kind of, and kind of situated over an area that's real tidal. And you're like, why would that happen? Because it's super sunny or, you know, warmish out or whatever else. Like, it's just kind of an anomaly.
Interesting. Did you take photos or?
Oh, maybe.
Uh-oh.
But no, I got to tell you, you know, so we see the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, quite often.
Do you?
Yeah, and it's epic because we're kind of situated facing northwest from our property, and going north and northeast, there's absolutely no light pollution for hundreds of miles. I mean, really, there's nothing.
No.
And so all of a sudden we'll have this, you know, epic kind of Northern Lights scene where the whole sky is pulsing, and you get the reds and the greens and the purples and, you know, all the colors.
We just got a big one here, and everyone was posting photos in Colorado. It was all red.
Right.
Like, it was really red here. Did you guys get that one too? It was like a big one recently, maybe a month or two ago.
These solar flares are becoming more common, and we're starting to figure out how to kind of anticipate them coming and call them out.
You can see them.
Yeah. And so I'm guessing that, you know, if you guys were seeing them, we were probably seeing them up there.
So, wow. So all in all, that lodge sounds pretty damn cool, man. Good time for a group of guys to go out, you know, rent a cabin. How does that work? How would they contact you?
You contact us through the website.
Okay.
That's the main means.
Are you
of
booked
getting
out
in touch.
for this next season, or is there space available?
I still have a few little gaps in our calendar, and so fortunately, I have a fully booked photography season, and so that's basically the kind of beginning of May or mid-May through July.
Cool. Are you using the same boats for photography as fishing, or is there a different boat for that?
Different boats.
Okay.
Yeah, different boats. And so right now I have my baby. I call her Hold Fast. And
Hold Fast.
Yeah, I got to show you a picture. Is
this that aluminum one that was all like metalled out? I think you showed me like a new one that you were, fairly new. This is like 5 years ago, I think.
Yeah, this was a couple years old now. It might have been that one, but this is it's a we call them ribs. So it's a rigid inflatable. So it's got a welded aluminum hull, ex-military, super beefy bomb-proof hull, and then it's got the inflatable tube around it.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yeah. And I put twin 175 outboards on it. The thing flies. It's safe, fast, stable. It's good for the whole photography mission.
Cool. And is there seats for all the people? They strap in? Or?
Yeah, we're doing it. I kind of geared it so. The group size for the photography trips are 10.
Oh, wow. 10 people on that boat?
No, so you have 10 people at the lodge.
Okay.
And 2 of them are the host photographers, like the pros.
Oh, okay.
And they usually, it's usually one person that would have their, partner or significant other with them to help host the trip. And so then how I geared it is basically we have 2 boats that go out, and we divide the group into 2, groups of 5. And then of course there's a guide driver, myself, and then this year is going to be my protege Igor from the Ukraine. And so he's got all his tickets now. He shadowed me for most of the summer. He's a great guy. He's full of life, full of energy. He's 25. So he's going to partner with me this year. And so we're looking for another one right now. And I think I found one.
If you're out there and you know how to drive a boat and you're in northern BC. Oh, you found one?
No, I found a boat. Found a boat. Yeah, so I have a driver,
pilot, captain.
No, I have Igor. Igor's going to be the other captain. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you want to expand, you're going to need more guides.
Yeah, we could. I'm thinking about maybe expanding. I mean, I think what we're trying to do with the lodge is right now we have 9 or 10, if we push it, guest rooms, all with private bathrooms. Real nice big.
I've been there. It's beautiful.
Cedar guest lodge. It's pretty cool. So we're thinking about putting up another one right beside it.
Wow.
And not necessarily to increase our capacity so much, but to have everybody, on some of our big fishing groups would be 14 people, maybe 16. And all of a sudden you'd have kind of everybody would have their opportunity to have an individual room.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a big deal.
That'd be nice. A little more luxurious, I guess.
Right. And then we offer, we do a real nice, we have a chef and a prep chef, and they're there all summer, big commercial kitchen. And so all the meals are prepared for everybody, and it's all, real local, nice, good organic ingredients.
Okay.
Do a lot of seafood stuff. Every trip
fresh, never frozen.
There you go. We keep all of our seafood in the big refrigerator until we need it, right? In the ocean. Then we just go out and get it. So we crab and we prawn, we catch salmon, shellfish, oysters.
Yeah, we did that. We feasted that night. That was really fun to go catch your food and eat it. Right. Yep. And then you smoke it a lot too. Whatever's left over.
Do some smoked salmon, and some other stuff. But yeah, every trip now we do a surf and turf night, and then pre-surf and turf we do kind of a big appy bar, which we call the seafood extravaganza. And so that's outside on our big oceanfront deck. And we'll have, smoked tuna, smoked salmon. We'll have tuna tataki. We'll have ling cod ceviche. We'll do some, some wild stuff that's kind of unique to our area. So.
Do people ever get like wilding out there, like at night after a day of drinking on the boat? They're all there by the fire. Do you ever have like some crazy groups that just get a little too wild?
We do.
Besides us when we were there.
Yeah, right. I think we're the wild ones. No, it's funny because the whole, I guess this the makeup of the crowd. Like the photographers seem like they're a little more mellow. They're there for the photography.
They gotta have a steady hand.
Yeah, and then exactly, and then that at nighttime they're usually editing pictures on their laptops and kind of doing stuff like that. Sometimes hanging out outside and doing like some astrophotography and awesome.
Do they have laser pointers?
I
Probably.
I have one.
You have one that I gave
that
you.
I got from you. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, years ago.
Yeah, green one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty
You gotta
awesome.
get the blue one, dude.
Yeah.
Light joints on fire with it.
Oh shit. Okay.
I think that you should do like space UFO photography out there.
But it's funny because a lot of these people are into this astro stuff, and so they spend 8 or 10 hours out in the field every day, and it's kind of hard to say, hey, okay, now you got to stay up until the sun sets, which in the summertime isn't until super late.
Yeah.
But some of them are, they're troopers, and they're out there at 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the
that
morning.
long exposure.
Yeah, and doing all kinds of crazy stuff with the stars, and seeing the Milky Way and the all the planets and everything. So
they probably would see more anomalies in the sky than the average person because they're up there looking and filming. I wonder what they see. They'd probably see some stuff.
Right.
I would imagine.
That's how it rolls. That's how it goes. Because there's a lot of times we miss it because we're just not.
No one looks up, dude.
We're
like
not.
The one time I do, every time I see something up there and I'm like, look, that's a mover. Oh, it goes that way. Like it's like, what is that up there? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I feel you, man. There's a lot of nights that we miss the northern lights up there because we're not up and we're not watching.
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes
you see meteor showers at all?
Meteor showers,
shooting stars.
Sure. Yeah. But you'll see, sometimes the northern lights, it's only a 15-minute deal.
Oh, really?
Other times it's like all night long. So yeah, it just depends.
That's just like radiation coming down, right?
Yeah. Solar flares.
Is it bad for you?
Solar flares, man. No.
If we get hit direct by a solar flare, that would fuck shit up.
Oh, I think so. I'm into this.
It did in 1800s. It's called like the something event.
The Miranda minimum.
It was
maybe.
No, I don't think it's that. What? The Carrington event. Yeah, in the 1800s, we got hit directly, and it did damage. So now I wonder if we're ready for that or not. But
right. No, I've been listening to this podcast, and this guy's talking about a solar minimum that happens
what's that?
Every 400 years, it's a cycle, and it's a sun cycle, and the sun stops pumping out as many solar flares as it normally does.
20,000 years or 400 years?
400 years.
Okay, and there's another cycle with the sun that's 20,000.
It could be a bigger cycle, maybe every 20,000 years, but at every 400 years, you go from... It was either 50,000 or 500,000 solar flares a year that kind of keeps our temperature ambient, or keeps our planet, stable temperature-wise.
And where are we at the peaking right now?
We're at 2030 is the peak of the next solar minimum. And
so shit's about to go down.
The guy's saying, it's like a mini ice age, and it's not something where we're all going to freeze over or anything like that. But what he's worried about is like worldwide crop loss.
Whoa!
And so if you have,
are you prepared for that?
Well, it's one of those things. It's kind of
you would be able to survive on that island with everything you need.
I think I could. I'd have a better opportunity than a lot of people just because that temperate rainforest and that
we're gonna
temperate
call
ocean.
you when that happens, dude. I'm
you
be on the next prop plane.
Don't bring too many people with you, right?
There's my family.
just
me, Kyle, 2 kids.
There you go.
Leave the grandparent. No, I'm joking, but everyone. Well, no, just that. If it's really bad, dude, I'm gonna call you.
Come on up, man. Doors are.
We'll see where is worse here or there, because you might need to call me up. Be like, oh, I don't know. Who knows?
Right. Well, it might be like a tsunami effect or something.
Could be, you're coastal.
I'm gonna come back
or
here.
water level rising. Maybe the polar caps melt.
Right.
Your island.
I could touch on that for a minute. Just that tidal scenario. We have a 17-foot, at times a 17-foot tidal difference.
Wow.
And that's in like a 6-hour time frame.
That's crazy. And I remember that. Like you get all this extra land for a short period of time.
Yeah. And it's bizarre. We have the one of the most complex tidal systems on all the planet. It's called a semi-mixed diurnal. And so that means that the tide system in a 24-hour period is broken up into 4 tides. They're all 6 hours in length. Wow. So there's 2 highs and 2 lows. And then the mix part means that each high and low is a different difference. Like there'll be a one big, like a high tide, then there'll be kind of a medium or a smaller high tide.
Is that only for people inland? That's not like coastal, right? Is it 2 tides or 4 tides on the coast?
Yeah,
too?
so like when you're on the open ocean,
Yeah.
it would be like a diurnal tide, so 12 and 12.
Okay.
And then you get these complexities where all of a sudden you have like a big barrier island and then an island chain behind it and deep channels, real deep waterways.
Yeah.
So that's all of a sudden when you have these weird tidal systems that create, and
Those
come
whirlpools.
to be. Yeah, and then you have this velocity of water coming through that all of a sudden creates all kinds of turbulence in the water.
Do you avoid going in and out during those peak hours?
No, I mean, not necessarily. Like you think back, we were talking about maybe the First Nations, a while ago, and how they were kind of situated in our zone. In Big Bay, which is the bay that we live in, there was a traditional summer camp for the First Nations up there, for the Indigenous people. And that's why we found some, artifacts and stone tools and different things from years past. But you think about it then, and it's kind of like, okay, they had these little tiny windows to navigate on the water
With no engines?
Yeah, it's all man-powered.
How
right?
did they do that?
And so they're in like cedar canoes and they're doing their thing, and they really had to know that tide system, right?
Yeah.
And I think that another thing I've noticed over the years is if you hike up to Mount Muley, to the top of the mountain, looking down, you can really study the tide system. You can see
vantage point.
Yeah, it's a great vantage point. It's like you all of a sudden can understand what's going on, the timing of it, things like that.
They would probably avoid going out when it's ebbing and flooding, right?
Oh, I think so.
Do you think you could get by with a hand paddled canoe with like a bunch of your buddies?
Well, so I see kayak and I do a lot of supping now, like paddleboarding, and so we'll go venture out there. But a lot of times it's like you stay in the back eddy. You don't do this, you don't do that. There's some serious life rules.
Stay away
around
from
it.
some areas, yeah.
But as far as nowadays, jumping forward modern times, we have super high powered boats. They're safe, they're fast, and if you know how to navigate through the current, then you don't really have to, kind of wait for any kind of opportunity to get through. You can just go through any time. So
If someone did fall out when you were going past them, you can't go back for them, right? You just got to keep going. What would be the protocol if you had a guest fall out, suck down? You're just like, bye, see ya. You signed the waiver.
Sometimes we'd call that guest like crab trap, like they're kind of like the bad apple, so we don't really care.
Really? You kind of put them in the one spot.
Just keep going, right? No, it's interesting. I've done some rescue training, and I've had a lot of experience up there in the water, and you kind of learn over time what to do and what not to do. And so,
what would you do in that scenario?
Well, I'll tell you. So these Zodiacs that we're in, these inflatables, they're super safe and they're very capable. And so
They wouldn't suck you down in it if you got.
Not necessarily, and you have kind of a lot better opportunity of getting through the tidal zone or situating yourself, inside the rapid zone without too much concern for flipping over or for getting kind of sucked down or whatever.
Okay, because the air, I guess, right?
Yeah,
in
you
the
have
Zodiac.
lots of buoyancy, right? And then you have lots of power behind you. So it all comes down to being kind of smart on the water. But if you did have someone go in, I mean, it's basically like you get
throw them a vest, maybe, or
we have life rings, we have all the safety equipment on board. You'd get on the VHF right away and call in, outside help, Coast Guard, all that kind of thing.
Okay.
But the reality is that over the years, and I've actually saved I think 2 or 3 people now.
Really?
Yeah, and it's pretty intense stuff, and you don't know how what the outcome's going to be. And I feel fortunate that in the circumstance I've been in, I've actually been able to rescue people.
Wow.
And it's all worked out. But
were you just like the closest guide? Like, was it on the radio and you were just like, oh, I'm there? And I'll let you go check it out and see them. How'd that go? Like, can you tell us about one of the times?
Yeah. There was a couple like that. The one that really stands out in my mind, it was interesting because there's a guy that left Big Bay, and immediately when you leave our bay, you're kind of exposing yourself to the rapids. There's the Yucatan Rapids right in front of the bay, and you couldn't even classify these rapids. I mean, on a real big flood, it would be like a Class 6 ocean rapid, which isn't a thing. Like river systems are river systems. This is like, you imagine like a cold ocean tidal current. It's bizarre. And it shuts on, turns on kind of not necessarily like a light switch, but I mean, we have a what we call a 50-90 rule. So in the 6-hour tide cycle, if you know that the maximum current is going to be 10 knots, then in the first hour of that tide cycle, it's going to go 50% of that, 5 knots. So you can't get through that 5 knots in a sailboat or a kayak or anything like that, you know. And then you go up to the second hour, be 90%, third hour, 100%, back to 90, 50, and then back to 0. So it actually, you're not going to get, sucked in like a light switch, but you have to, on the approach to a rapid, you kind of got to understand what stage is that current in right now, and how am I going to get through it?
Do you know how many people die every year in water-related deaths?
No, I mean, not in our zone, I wouldn't say,
Zero?
I would say 0. But
really?
This summer, there was 2 incidents I know of where a boat was, basically, capsized and people were floating around and you're in a danger zone. And, fortunately, again,
everyone got saved.
They were rescued. Everything was good. My buddy was first on scene in another eco tour boat. And he did just what you said. He tied a life jacket to a line, to a rope, and threw it out to a guy, and the guy was able to retrieve it. And so, but my incidents, a friend of mine had a small skiff that had enough power. I think it was a 70 or 90 horse outboard on the back of it, to commute between the islands. And he let his family member or someone, one of his buddies, use his boat. Had no boating experience, didn't wear a life jacket, 2 big time no-nos, and took out into the rapid zone, just trying to go.
Do you think drinking or drugs were involved?
You know what? I don't think so. But,
okay.
You never know.
You never know.
But this guy, he was going to work, and so he's a carpenter, and so anyways, I'm sitting in my dining room at the lodge, and I have a couple there. Who decided to not go out that day, and so we're just sitting in there having coffee and talking about the area, and then this lady says, what's that boat doing out there? And I look out, and this boat's doing high speed donuts, circles, just going full out, and immediately when I see that means someone's fallen out of the boat or fallen inside the boat, and they don't have the steering capability, and that's
out of control.
The tiller on the motor goes straight over to one side or the other, right? And so basically it just starts doing high speed donuts. Yeah. I ran down Mach 5 down to the dock, jumped in my boat at the time, raced out there, and it was really fortunate that we saw this, happening when we did. This guy, the smartest thing this guy did, he basically hit a huge log. It jarred him so hard that he fell out of the boat. Right?
Wow.
Didn't have a life jacket on.
Oh my God.
The smartest thing he did is he grabbed the log and he rode the log for buoyancy.
Yeah.
And he's now going probably 8 or 10 miles an hour down the channel through these rapids.
So he was away from the boat.
He was away from the boat, and that boat is basically, he didn't have his kill leash on.
Yeah.
And that's what you wear around your wrist. So if you do fall out, your motor dies.
Yep.
Well, this guy wasn't wearing this, kill leash. And so this boat, potentially could hit him. So I went over to the log, kind of raced up alongside it. Buddy came with me, who was a guest at our lodge, Erwin. Bless his heart, he was able to come with me. But he tied a line to a life jacket, threw it out to the guy. We hauled this guy in. He's skinny dude, no insulation on him whatsoever.
Freezing, hypothermia,
in shock.
Wow. How long was he in the water?
He was probably in the water for, I'd say 10 minutes, maybe 15. But if we hadn't seen him, he would have been out of anyone's visual, like for good.
Wow.
Like he would have been just out there floating around. And
hard.
Doesn't take long before you succumb to that water temp, right? So anyways, we threw him back in the boat, raced him back into shore. I let his boat just do its thing.
How did they stop it eventually?
Well, it got him back in and put him in a warm shower and kind of got him slowly warming up.
And the boat's just going around the whole time.
I told 2 of my buddies they were going to work. They're going to guide at Ritchie Brothers, salmon fishing guides. And I said, hey, boys, I just had this incident and it's all under control, but that boat's still out there. And they could see this thing, and it was getting closer and closer to the rocks.
Cowboys with lassos.
They jumped in one boat, 2 of them in the one boat, and the one guy, driving the boat, he's getting close, and the other guy had to take his spare oar, and throw it at the throttle of the boat.
Oh.
And I think it took them 2 or 3 tries, and finally they banged it, and then thing stops, and then they latched onto it and towed it back into the bay. But yeah,
did anyone record that? That was probably.
No, it's in my mind, it's like a vivid memory. It's just one of those things. It's engraved.
Yeah, you don't have time. It's an emergency. You can't bust out your phone. The guy helping people.
Right. But the family came back the next day or a couple days later and thanked me for saving the guy, and it was a big deal. Wow. And they gifted me. It was funny. They gifted me these 2 big bags that I, they said, thank you so much. And, we're so blessed and so amazed that you were there and you saw this. And, and I think the guy's name, I said the guy with me was named Irwin. The guy we rescued was named Irwin. It's kind of a strange deal.
Whoa.
Yeah. But anyways,
Simulation.
They were just so thankful Irwin's alive and well and whatever. And so they're like, here, we got you this, and I was like 25.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
a long
I was
time ago.
I wasn't drinking very much. I'd have a beer every once in a while, and
Gave you some street cred, some island cred.
They gave me 4 huge bottles of rum, and I was
that got you on the wagon.
That turned me into a pirate, man. I don't know. It's just like that.
Shit. So they kind of ruined your life. That's saving that.
Right. No. It was I was just happy to be part of it.
Thought, to give you,
a thought that counts. Yeah. So
imagine this: a world with no dirty bongs. Peace water. Peace water. Peace water. The Peace Water solution formula works by encouraging more molecule-to-molecule interactions. The ingredients in Peace Water solution work to create a natural trap of smoke particulate. This bond makes the solution viscous, which in turn entraps the smoke byproducts and stops resin from forming. I'm a scientist. Look, guys, it's 2023, and if you're not using Peace Water right now, then I don't know what you're doing. Find them online at peacewater.com and on Instagram at peacewater.
So if you could describe your lodge and the feeling you get when you're there in 3 words, what would it be?
Wow, I got to think about this for a minute.
Or in 1 sentence, or 3 words.
I'll give you the 3 words.
Okay.
It would be unique, mesmerizing, and absolutely beautiful. And this isn't talking about my place specifically, but just the area.
Yeah.
It's this place where people go and they think that they're, have you been to Alaska? Have you been to, some of the Gulf Islands or wherever, Yeah. Well, you haven't been to Stuart Island. And when you get there, it's like, wow, this is like little Alaska. I mean, it's
very beautiful. Unreal. Nothing like it, really.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we went to Victoria Island? And by the way, do you have that silver still? Or we won't talk about that.
Do you have the harmonica?
I think I do. Yeah, I started to learn how to play after that.
But we won't talk about it. But would we have to retrieve the next day? It was like a wallet, a watch,
I don't know.
Cell
that
phones.
was pre-drinking days. But you remember that hotel I stayed in, and like for some reason you wanted to get a hotel, and they were all sold out. We called everywhere. And we have this room, and I just thought it was a closet door. And I opened this door, and there's a staircase that goes down to another whole room with a bed. And we're calling the front desk. We're like, "You got an extra room for you?" And they're like, "No, we don't." And then finally, when we noticed that, did you go down in that room?
Yeah, I remember that. It's like a secret passage.
Weird.
Yeah,
there, like a hotel with an extra room attached to it in a door that went down. That was strange.
Oh, that's strange.
That was fun. Cool.
Yeah.
So you were talking about some things that you saw in the sky, but what about things like USOs? Do you know what USOs are? Underwater, submerged, unidentified submerged objects.
Right.
Any anomalies you've ever seen out there in the open ocean? Or
I have, definitely. And I think that, if you have this tidal effect like we do, you see some really strange stuff.
Like what?
Well, so like every once in a while when you're cruising down a channel, and now after doing it for so long, you kind of understand what the topography is, which I think is called bathography.
On the ocean?
I have to look that up. Yeah, just in the ocean floor.
Level. Oh,
the ocean floor, the topography of the ocean floor.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's called bathography, maybe?
Or bathymetry, something.
We got it. We'll put
anyways, you know what I'm talking about. But you'll be coming down a channel, cruising up the channel with the current, against the current, and all of a sudden you'll see like the grade of the water will change. And so you're like going downhill. And it's almost like, in a river environment, you don't notice because the land's all going downhill. Everything's going downhill.
Is it like some big object just got out and like made a Like maybe move the water,
like something like you think that like what just happened, because all of a sudden there's this weird anomaly where you're like going downhill, and everything else is level around you, right?
Wow.
And then other times, and going up against that too. Sometimes you're going uphill and you're like, what the heck's going on here? Huh. You can feel your outboard, your motor's working a little bit harder sometimes. And
what do you think that is?
I don't know, but I think that a lot of it has to do with maybe not necessarily something like a creature down below the water, but I think it's more about how the water...
Could be a whale, though, right? Because there's giant whales out there.
Oh, yeah, and we have, nowadays we're seeing more humpbacks than we ever have before.
Those are huge.
Yeah, big animals, right?
They're like a submarine.
Oh, and it's amazing to see them. It's been pretty cool over the last 10 years because we've had a few things change in the fishery where they're not commercially taking as much herring, which is a big biomass bait fish,
really
that's in our zone. Some other smart, like kind of fishery regulations that have basically allowed the whales to come back, the sea lions, the seals. A lot of the natural marine mammals have come back, in a big way.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Hey, I think it's a great thing.
Because I remember they used to steal salmon off the lines.
So, seals, yeah, they're not so bad, and they're not messing with us so much. The big problem that we do have now is the sea lion population. So sea lions...
You hate the sea lions?
I don't hate anything.
Okay, good. Good, that was a test.
Right. But I appreciate...
They're a nuisance right now.
I appreciate the sea lions for what they are, and if I could be one of the animals for one day in our zone, I'd want to be a sea lion.
No way. That's a question I had to ask you.
Really?
Yeah, it was right here. Yeah. Where is it? If you could be any animal out there in nature, which one would you be for a day? You'd be a sea lion just yelling at people on boats. They're like rolling. There's like... Just
I gotta
say, farting together.
If you see, I wouldn't want to be in that scene.
Okay, but you'd be a solo.
But I'd be solo, like in the water, underwater,
swimming.
They have
They're beautiful.
Great vision underwater, above water, and they're probably the best swimmer out there.
No way.
These guys are popping up like in the biggest whirlpool, right in the middle of it, and they don't care, and they're having fun.
Are they like part walrus a little bit?
Different species, so
same family, maybe.
Yeah, no? At some point they'd be in a similar
part
family.
Lion too.
And they sound like a lion. They kind of look like big incisor teeth and everything.
Yeah.
So, but the sea lions, they're in our area. They're stellar sea lions, which are also called northern sea lions. They're the largest in the world, and they operate. Their family structure is a rookery, and basically there's a bull, and the bull will have a harem of cows, kind of like elk. Right. And anyways, these animals are crazy. They consume so many salmon, so much fish. And sometimes if it's the hake fish or if it's the bait fish or the lingcod or the bottom fish, it's not such a big deal. But when they're actually eating salmon and they're in these little bottlenecks of our island chain and they're just creating a wall, like right now, I think our local rookery is probably 70 or 80 strong. And is
it like a dam? Is it affecting the water?
No, it's not a dam, but it's more so that they're in a zone. They're in a tight channel where all the salmon come through.
Oh, okay. Feeding frenzy.
Yeah, and it's a feeding frenzy. And they'll sit there and they will just hound on the salmon. Yeah. And that's something that I could see being a problem in the future.
Okay.
And it's like, what are you going to do about it? Well, I don't know. But I think that my theory is when humans start to manage something, because we do, we have to continue to manage something. We can't just let it go back to the way it was because it won't ever go back to the way it was. Or maybe it would take, 100 years or 1,000 years.
Yeah. But
as far as management goes, it's like that's what it's all about.
Got to continue to monitor it.
Exactly.
Right? See where it's going.
Just like Colorado. I mean, we have one of the largest elk herds in North America, and Colorado.
They're living in my neighborhood right now.
I was looking for them on my way.
They're all out there this morning. Yeah, all of them.
I'm glad I didn't see one because I didn't get to get one when I was hunting. But
I don't think my neighbors would like that
at all. I had a great time hunting, and it's always a good experience. I just like hanging out with the elk. I like sneaking up on them. But anyways, back to us just saying that I think it comes down to management, and if we're not gonna, if we're gonna manage something for a little while, we got to maintain that management and keep managing it. And the sea lion population is going through the roof, and it is taking a big toll in the salmon population.
Do they attack humans?
Not yet.
Okay. What are their predators? Like, what can we release out there to kind of take care of that population.
Right.
More polar bears, more grizzlies, maybe.
Here's what it is. It's an orca, killer whales.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have two kinds of killer whales in our area. I think there's 3 or 4 that they classify worldwide, but the 2 in our area would be a resident versus a transient. So a resident killer whale, throughout, thousands of years, they basically made it, their diet structure is basically fish, and it's strictly fish, and they don't really stray from that. The transients are strictly marine mammals. Okay, so the transients are eating seals and dolphin and porpoise and sea
land
lions.
animals.
Sea
Almost.
lions.
Okay.
Well, sometimes they'll lunge up on the rocks to grab
I've
something.
seen that. They're sneaky.
Right, Discovery Channel.
They're
stuff.
smart too, aren't they?
Oh,
do you hear them communicate?
You can, yeah,
Do you?
for sure.
Yeah.
Orcas are, second largest brain out of any animal.
Really?
8 times the amount of lobes that we have. I mean, they're highly intelligent
Yeah,
creatures.
dolphins too.
And dolphins, they are. So
They
orcas
have a bigger frontal cortex or lobe.
frontal lobe, and the orcas are the largest dolphin. They're the largest dolphin
Is
species.
that right?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And probably the smartest.
And probably likely the smartest. So, anyways, the orcas. We're seeing a lot more transient orcas in our area because we have this population of sea lions and seals that's going through the roof right now. A seal is kind of a nice snack for an orca. A sea lion is probably a preferred snack, but really hard to get.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'll definitely hound on a sea lion if they have the opportunity, but basically they have to single one out, and then they have to do their feeding pattern and hunt one down. The sea lions, if there's 50 or 60 of them in a rookery, they're not going to try and go for one because they'll pack up on the orcas, and then ultimately they'll probably win.
What do they taste like?
A sea lion?
Yeah.
I would say kind of like a spotted owl. No.
Okay.
I don't know what they taste like.
Oh, you don't eat them?
No.
Okay. How are we going to get rid of them? Like, if they're becoming a problem, what do you think the solution would be?
There's 2 obvious answers, I think, that would be like relocation. And I've heard that, they've taken sea lions from certain places.
Where, to Alberta?
Yeah, somewhere like North Coast. But then 2 days later, they're back.
Oh.
They're so smart and they're so fast. And, they can
You got to blindfold them.
something. Spin them around, blindfold them, send them over to some, But the other thing is, culling them. Culling. So that's, taking them out. And I don't know, I think, again, traditionally they were hunted by the indigenous peoples, the Inuits.
Did they eat them?
Oh yeah, they would.
They used every part.
They used every
the blubber,
part.
make oil.
The bones.
Carve the bones, the penises.
I don't know.
Yes, they did.
Okay, hey, that's.
They were like
no
sticks,
corals.
dude.
No.
Like they were beating sticks. They were like a big bone. They would use them for like a hammer. They're collectible, highly collectible.
You got some really
you probably
interesting
got
facts that I know where
Dude,
get
can
this
you
stuff.
name any of the endangered species of your neighborhood over there? Spotted owl, you named one already. That's endangered.
Yeah, and I think that what's interesting is you could say that some of these species have been endangered before, and now they're on the up and up.
Yeah.
And so one of them would be a grizzly bear.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's not on my list.
Well, the grizzlies, I don't know if they were necessarily classified as endangered, but they're really
we
close.
saw them when we were out there.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot. I mean, in our area, there's a healthy population of grizzlies, but it's been outlawed now. So there's absolutely no more hunting of grizzly bears in Canada and in British Columbia.
Wow.
And I think it's a good move. That's arguable. If you talk to hunters or a grizzly guide, they might tell you differently. But at the same time, grizzlies are super intelligent animals, and
So cute.
They're in our area. They're 90% vegetarian.
Really?
They're
berries. This
berries and roots and tubers and some insects. But then they'll eat the salmon when the
is
salmon
that
comes
vegetarian too?
So-
If you eat insects,
I don't know. Maybe that's not. But
I wonder what that's called.
that's going to be important in the future. I think as a protein source for us. for
Cricket
humans.
growing, dude. They're doing that. Yeah.
But as far as another endangered animal,
Let's go. Name the top 5.
you know what? You're going to win on this one because I don't. Tell me one.
Okay, the southern resident killer whale.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Weren't we talking about that one?
We were. And
Is that the orca?
And I think this is
Or is it
debatable.
different?
No, it's the orca. So it's the resident community. There's the northern residents and the southern residents.
Okay.
And the southern residents, I think there's a lot of data right now that's telling us that their population is in decline. and that their food source is not as healthy as it used to be because their residents, they're feeding on strictly on salmon. And they're also feeding on Chinook salmon or king salmon because they're the largest and they're the most nutritional. They have the best nutritional content. So these are smart animals.
Have you heard of these cocaine sharks that like they follow the stream, like where there's a lot of like kilos of coke where they're smuggling it, and then they bite these things and then they get all like crazy, and then they all go there and they hang out. Dude, there's cocaine sharks out in the ocean. They're all
that sounds wild.
That's crazy.
That sounds wild.
And they can smell it from far away too, because you know how and they're like, then they're hooked on coke, and then they go and they search for it.
Wow.
And they're like, yeah, you want to stay away from them.
Well, I think in our cold water, that scent thing isn't there so much. So,
really?
Yeah.
I heard sharks can scent blood from like so far away.
Oh, I think they can, but I think in the
coke they could probably even send it farther.
In the cold water, though, the scent's a little different. But yeah, I heard of the cocaine bear.
That's a true story.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's a true story. That's a good movie. I like that. I like that.
You seen that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're pretty versed with all marine wildlife around there. Do you think you could identify every animal that you see?
I'd give it a good go. And I think.
All right. Here, we're gonna ask you a question here. Can you name this fish?
That's a sturgeon.
What kind of sturgeon? We're not going to accept that answer. It's a special kind of sturgeon.
I've never been too involved with sturgeon before. I call it a spiny sturgeon.
A spiny sturgeon? Okay, do you see those?
No.
That's one of the most rarest fish in your area.
These are river-based creatures.
Oh, wow.
And so, and I don't doubt that there could be a river or two that's big enough to host one of these sturgeon in our area. But as far as like the real big systems like the Fraser River, I know I have buddies that are sturgeon guides. And
really?
So they actually go out and
Is that a tasty fish?
It's super tasty, and the caviar is supposed to be like phenomenal.
Really?
Yeah, but it's totally outlawed now. They were picked on for a long time, and I think their population went in decline.
Really?
But I know the First Nations, the indigenous people, they would use them, and they thought of them as a very high creature in their realm.
Delicacy.
Yeah, and a delicacy, but also
rare?
just a spiritual kind of creature that they would admire. So, anyways, I still have friends that they guide for sturgeon fishing and sturgeon fishing guides, and you'll pull out this monster that's 10, 15 feet long and weighs 200-300 pounds, whatever. I mean,
that's how big these are.
Oh, they're crazy. They're huge. I mean, they're prehistoric looking things, right?
Whoa.
But then you hold them and take some pictures, and then you let them go, and so yeah.
What kind of? You need a heavy line, I guess.
Oh yeah, they're using big kind of big level winders with 100-pound test, and I think they're using, because these sturgeon really one of their their prized kind of foods is salmon carcasses.
Okay.
So there's a lot of that sturgeon fishing and sturgeon fishery going on in that late season when the salmon are running the rivers.
Okay.
Right?
So what's your favorite personal type of fish to eat out there? Because I like the lingcod, and the lingcod was good.
Lingcod is that nice white mild meat that kind of has a bit of a resemblance to halibut.
Yeah.
Maybe not as white and not as firm, but still, I'm finding that a lot of our guests that come to our place, we don't have as many halibut as we do lingcod.
Okay.
And lingcod.
Halibut's pricey in the grocery store too, man. That shit is twice as much as anything else. Like it's like way more than salmon too.
It is, and and it's commercially caught still up in Alaska, and I think it's a pretty healthy fishery, and I love halibut. But
me too.
We have a lot of people that are now they prefer lingcod. They love lingcod. Yeah.
What's your personal favorite?
My personal favorite, I gotta say, my personal favorite is probably a Chinook salmon.
Wow.
And different parts of that fish that really are tasty.
I caught a salmon in Oregon, and it was like more of a river salmon, and it was not the same as I think it was a Chinook, but it was like a river, and it was like kind of fishy tasting. I don't know. Is that you asked me about that earlier, but when these salmon are at the end of their life cycle, at the end of their migration, and they're going up the river system, we kind of have a general rule that in some of the shorter rivers that we deal with, like say the Phillips River, it's only about 40 miles
up to a glacial head from the ocean, right, from the mouth of the river. So there's not much actual river system there. It's just a short river system, and so that means that the spawning grounds are somewhere in between, the ocean and the head of the river, which is the glacier. And so a lot of this time, our salmon species in that particular system hosts all 5 species. There's 5 Pacific salmon species.
Okay. Can you name them all?
Yeah. So
Where are they?
You got your pinks and your chums and your sockeye and your coho and your chinook. Okay.
Okay. Don't some turn into some? Doesn't the chinook turn into a pink at the end of its life? I thought they'd transform. And then they kind of like decay in the river.
They do, and that's what I'm getting at. So they maintain their species. They don't transform into something else. Oh, okay. But basically, there's 3 things that are going on. But
they change their face, don't they? Like at the end of their life, and they look like a different animal.
Yeah, it's called morphology. So basically, when they're hatched and they're these tiny little salmon fry. And it depends on the species, but ultimately they're all going to go out to the open ocean and go for long migration. And so the migration can be a local migration, but a lot of these fish are traveling for thousands and thousands of miles through the ocean. And the oldest salmon that you're going to see is a 7-year-old, 7 years old.
That's the end of their life.
The largest Chinook. Okay. Yeah. It used to be maybe an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old. Now it's
Why is that?
It changed. Well, it's just that's their makeup. That's how they were created. That's their deal.
So 1 year in fish years would be like 10 years in human years.
Could be something like that.
70, 80.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. But, so what they do is, they go on this migratory route. They come back. Likely they'll go back into their own river system.
How did they get there?
This is I think that what I've learned in my lifetime up there is it comes down to chemosensory. So
okay.
It's some kind of a navigational means that's genetic. So they're traveling with their siblings. A female Chinook salmon that's say 40 or 50 pounds, she'll have 10 to 12,000 eggs inside of her. Okay. And so
they all go back to where they were laid.
Only 40% of that 10 to 12,000 will make it out to the ocean as a salmon fry.
Okay, so where you got, what's that? That's like 5,000, 6,000?
Let's say 5,000. Okay. So 5,000 all of a sudden, and they're these tiny little salmon fry.
How many of those are fish food?
And well, there you go. So then they have all these oceanic variables on their migration, right? It's like
predators probably waiting by like the rivers.
Everything's after them, the birds and the humans and the sharks and the killer whales. Like on the migrational path, when they're out in the ocean, they're going to spend that 3 to 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is, out in the ocean.
Do you remember when we caught a little one like this big?
We don't catch those.
No, we did remember? And then I got it on video. We'll play the B-roll. And then we dared your buddy just to take a bite out of it.
Oh, yeah.
And he just like bit through the spine and then like chewed it out. And there's like a bite mark of this little fish. That was wild.
I'm trying to remember who that was. Was it Dave?
I forget.
Big Dave.
What was that dude's name who knew like glassblowers who we would hang out on his boat? He was like an Asian guy.
Wasabi, yeah.
Wasabi.
Yeah, Wes.
Is he still out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wes.
Is there island drama? Or do you guys just like... Or is there like shit? Is that guy flying with a helicopter still?
Oh, yeah. There's always a bit of drama up there. Yeah, neighbors who have helicopters and don't really.
What's the helicopter
care about anything else or anyone?
What do
else.
you do? You should get drones, dude.
No, I just tell them
over.
It basically now it's like don't fly within 500 feet of my buildings. And you've seen Trailer Park Boys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ricky.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's like he's. I wouldn't call him a role model, but like he's just one of those guys that I like in my life. I like his attitude.
Ricky with the drink in his hand all the time.
No, that's Julian.
Oh, okay. Ricky
Ricky's the main character.
Yeah. Okay. No, Ricky with the tearaways.
Yeah. Ricky says
he's got the tearaways.
I don't normally. He says I
don't. Told you so.
Yeah. Exactly. Worst case Ontario.
Worst case Ontario.
So he's he says I don't normally fuck with people. But if you fuck with me, I'm gonna fuck with you back big time.
Yeah. Right? How can you fuck with this guy? Like you remember the movie Dirty Works where you'd hire Norm Macdonald and he would come and like fuck with people, like leave fish around his house, or had all these like dead hookers in the guy's cars at the at the lot.
Yeah. You know what? In all honesty, nowadays I just block it out, and I just know that as soon as I'm 5 minutes or less, 2 minutes from my dock, I'm in the pristine world.
What's noisier than a helicopter?
Nothing else matters. A float plane.
You should get one of those. And just leave it running, throttling in the front, working on it.
Let me just finish the salmon spiel just real quick.
Yeah. This is important.
Just wanted to say, when they come off their migration and they're going back into that river system, they're going through this experience where it's basically like their morphology is changing, which is basically their body is transforming into something else that's basically going to attract a mate. Okay, and so you see that like in a lot of different in the wild, and a lot of different.
What's attractive to a mate? Like, how do they?
Well, so you
get the
picture
best
like you picture ducks, you know, and
what?
usually
Ducks. Then the more flair.
It's usually the guys, right? It's
Is
always
it
the
more
males.
shine? What are they looking for?
Yeah, they get the shine, they get the colors, they get the feathers that, you know, like.
Okay, so vibrant colors are more attractive to.
Right, and this is true in the salmon world. So like the Chinooks, let's take them for instance.
Yeah.
They go in and a big, you know, male or female Chinook, pretty hard to identify, you know, from any kind of distance in the ocean. They're just big silver fish, you know, they look like salmon.
Up close.
But up close, you can start
subtle,
seeing some subtle kind of differences and changes in their physiology.
Sounds magical.
It is, it's crazy. And
We're going to have to wrap this up in the next 15, 20 minutes, but can I ask you, did you ever use that glass lure that I made you?
I did, and you know what? I kind of dollied it up. I put a hook on it and I put some beadwork on the bottom of it.
No way.
Yeah, just change it a little bit.
Is it attractive to those fish?
I've had twice where I've had two big strikes, like hammers on it, and
like
then
the biggest fish ever,
something
from the deep.
Something, and I never saw it. Didn't amount to much, but then I was kind of like every time, like both times, I was like,
Whoa,
okay,
it's the same kind of big
I'm
hat.
gonna put this back up on the shelf. I'm gonna put it back on the shelf and not mess with it. But I think.
What'd you do with the pipe? Do you still have that pipe that I got you?
Let me tell you.
What happened to that one?
This is my knowledge in the glass world. I think it's the diacrylic.
Dichroic.
Okay, Hey, it was close, right?
So you still got the lure. What happened to the little? What was it? I made you one that said like Chinook on it or something. Or no, it said
Skana.
Skana.
That's my handle on the water.
Okay.
That means killer whale in the native tongue.
So how did you hit
One
that?
of
on
my
the
favorite
boat?
animals. You know what? We were going through this real kind of wave action rocky water, which we don't have too often. You know, 2 or 3 foot chop kind of thing.
Yeah.
Someone's passing me something. You know, it's everything's
You were
happening in the
smoking and
moment.
driving when
no,
you were
I wasn't
going?
driving. I wasn't
Okay.
driving. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
do that. But anyways, all of a sudden, boom! It's like out of our hands,
So
and we see it like slow mo tumble down into the ocean, and then it's like blow.
It's for the gods now. Some scuba diver is going to find that, and they'll be like, "It's what? It's Matt Robertson at the bottom of the ocean."
Some generation, you know, like this is gonna be like 500 years from now.
Yeah.
They're gonna see this and be like, "What was like the
What
alien
was that?
race that made these?"
Skana. What does that mean?
But hey, I do have my orca pipe that you made me.
Okay.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Sitting on my shelf.
Is it showpiece?
No, it's a showpiece.
You use it?
You know, I don't indulge that much anymore.
Okay.
And
Has it been used?
it's been used.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Is there a thing called marine law where it just anything goes on the ocean?
Yeah, but you got to be way out in the ocean.
Okay, what's the rules about that?
You know,
How far off coast does anything go?
something about, you know, high seas and pirates and things like that. But I think you got to be out there like in international waters, and then all of a sudden, like,
Are there different laws for the ocean than the land?
well, for me, like, ask me where I'm from.
Where are you from?
The future. Your rules don't apply to me. That's kind of the way I roll. But
My rules?
well,
Oh, new rules?
it's just the human rule.
Okay, so like, you're lawless over there then.
Yeah,
you don't
know.
care.
It's interesting being on a small island where there is an authority, and every once in a while you see the Coast Guard roll by, or
they check you.
the police boat or the fisheries or whatever. But it's kind of a cool situation because you feel like, hey, I could do anything. Am I going to? No.
Yeah, it's good moral people.
But I'm still going to do some, you know, you're going to be able to blast your tunes, or you're going to be able to do this or do that and not feel, you know.
But I'm saying, like, are there some guidelines on the ocean that you can't break, like some I don't know, speeding, like you shouldn't. Is there a speed limit, or is it more like etiquette?
When you're closer to, say, Vancouver, a populated zone, there's a lot more of this, you know, kind of rule or regulation around you. And so I wouldn't be, you know, like, it wouldn't surprise me if, you know, 50, 100 years down the road, there's stoplights out there in the channels and shit like that. But right now, where I'm at, we're tucked away in this little island chain. You know, there might be some rules and regulations. Most of us abide by them, but as far as I'm concerned, it's just like, you know, survival of the fittest, and, you know, don't fuck up and
be
you know,
respectful.
keep your people safe and be respectful of the animals and
real
be
sense of
respectful
community
of the
out there.
Yeah, it's good. It's
Okay.
good. There's some cool neighborhoods near us that are a little bit more homestead kind of hippie.
Like
And
Quadra.
The Surge.
I think there's some glass blowers out on Quadra.
Yeah. Hey, I want to answer one more thing you asked. You said what?
You got it, dude. This is your show.
Well, you said
your show. Just let's set up whatever you want to do. Okay.
What animal would I like to be?
You already said
A sea lion. But how about a land-based?
Okay.
An eagle.
That's air based.
Well,
dude. That's air based.
They're on the. They roost in trees. That's air and land.
Okay,
but still, to be
an eagle fly
for a
around
day,
like that.
oh,
Eagle eyes just dip in, dip out. Maybe you'll come back as an eagle, dude.
I wanted to.
What's their lifespan like? How long do they live?
Well,
40 years, I bet. Like parrots live 40, 70 years, dude. Sometimes
an eagle could live to be 60,
100.
70. They could live to be that long, but they have a tough life. And they have real harsh conditions that they deal with all the time. And so most eagles, in my mind, in our area, would live to be 20 to 30.
How close have you been to an American bald eagle?
Well, I'll tell you this, and I got to say this in the right way, but we have a nesting pair that lives in the bay. There's actually 3.
Is that legal?
Well, I didn't do it. They're just nesting there, right? It's natural.
Okay.
But the pair that have, basically traditionally come over to our dock to feed on salmon scraps, and this is when we're cleaning fish, and we don't have any
you
control
feed them
over
a little
it.
bit.
Well, you might leave a fin out for them or something,
You've
right?
got 2 little pet bald eagles.
Well, one of them we've named Snickers.
Okay.
And Snickers is the female. Mm-hmm. So the females rule the roost. They're a little bigger than the males.
Okay.
They're pretty.
Snickers.
They're
Why'd you call them that?
birds. Well, because my friend, this is before we named Snickers.
Is that what they sound like?
Ooh, I don't know. That's an evil.
That's
evil
eagle.
sounding eagle.
Bald eagle. That's what they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
My friend had an incident where he couldn't get down to my dock because this big bald eagle was on our arch that leads down to the dock, and
About to fuck him up.
Yeah,
like, don't go.
And I said, Dustin, it's not going to do anything. Just go ahead and go down there, man. And so we made a little mock video of this whole scene going on, right? And I said, okay, well, what's going on? And Dustin says, I can't go down to the dock because of that thing. And I pan up and you see this big bird.
Oh, do you have that footage?
I think I do. I could probably send it to you.
That'd be cool.
And I said, well, Dustin, I said, hey, man, this is one of our local birds. You want to name him? And he said, yeah, I'm going to name him Charleston Chew. He just pulled that out of a hat. I was like,
Charleston Chew.
Yeah.
What is that thing? I think that's a thing.
It's a candy bar.
Yeah. Okay. So you didn't like it?
Well, no, and that's the male.
Okay.
And so the female comes by, and they sit on this post that's out there off our dock a little ways, and they kind of wait for the salmon scraps. And so, anyways, I named the female Snickers. Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of fitting. Right. So
I like it.
Yeah.
So Charlton Chew and Snickers. They're a happy bird couple.
If I put a leather glove on, I haven't tried this yet. I don't know if I ever will, but if I did and I held a piece of fish for her, she would rip it out of my hand.
Okay. So you haven't done that yet. So how close have you personally been?
Well, I get within 5 feet.
5 feet? That's how close?
Yeah.
And okay, cool.
And I got a question for you, part of a trivia. I got 2.
Let's go.
Can I do it?
Yep.
How many eyelids does a bald eagle have?
4.
3.
Wow. What? How does that work?
Close. Well, one is kind of like a roosting cover, so full eyelid.
Okay.
The other one's like a dust cover. And then they have another one that's kind of a transparent cover. So
6.
Well, 3.
2 eyes.
It's 6. Okay, you got it.
Simple math.
All right, I got another one.
Let's hear it.
Give me the music. Okay, what do you call a group of eagles?
Not a murder. Oh, God. A flock? No, it's not my final answer. What's the word start with?
A C.
C. Okay, clan.
That'd be good, but no.
Okay, what is it?
Well, I got two answers, and they both start with a C.
Okay, what are they?
Convocation.
Ooh, okay.
The other one, which I kind of like, and I think I might name my new boat this, maybe.
Track the eagle gods to it.
A Congress.
A Congress?
A Congress of eagles.
Oh, my God. What do they call it in the government? Congress.
Right.
And they're all eagles, bald, a lot of them.
Looming over
Pecking,
everybody.
yeah. Lording.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, they're
Congress, dude.
absolutely amazing creatures.
Do you know what you call a group of giraffes?
No. What's
A tower.
A tower?
A tower of giraffes.
Ah, I like it.
Do you know what you call a group of zebras? A dazzle.
A dazzle.
Or, yeah, dazzle of zebras is a group.
I like that.
Murder of crows. School of fish.
There you go. Pod of
Whales.
killer whales.
Okay, pods.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
What about bears? Pack?
Wolf pack.
Pack, yeah. Those are bears.
I just learned last night that a mature female mountain lion is a queen.
Ooh.
She's a queen.
They just kind of passed some law here where they're going to be more strict on hunting them, which I like. You probably don't, but I do.
Yeah, I don't.
I
on
just
Vancouver
don't.
Island,
I don't think they're so beautiful.
Yeah, I get it. And down here, I would agree to that. But
I've seen their eyes out there. I shined a flashlight in the night, and I saw like two big eyes kind of come up, dude. And they're like more in the front, like not like a deer.
Right.
And there was.
I gotta tell you, on my hunting trip I just was on, I walked up one morning in a bear track. And then I spooked a bear. It came out of a den, and it was only probably 150, 200 pound black bear.
Tiny little thing.
Yeah, but it bolted up the mountain away from me. No crazy corals. Or
Back
anything.
to the mommy, or is they on their own?
Well,
now?
that's what I thought. I was kind of like, okay, I better watch out because the sow, mommy might be around.
I saw like a 600-pound black bear down there, and I was videotaping it, and then it was going into the guy's spot, and their door was open, and I didn't even see their door open, and I'm like videotaping the bear, and their door's right there. I'm like, yo, shut your door. And they shut it right in time, and they'd see the bear head there, and they're like, whoa, and I'm videotaping the whole thing, and they couldn't see it, and it was right there.
Big bear.
Biggest one I've ever seen,
Was it black or?
It was black. Black, big, looked like a grizzly, but like a black bear.
So a lot of times,
I got it on video. I'll show you.
When we're doing, I want to see it. When we're doing our eagle photography, we're taking a break from the eagles.
Yeah.
And they're situated. They're up in the trees. They're basically digesting all the fish that they've eaten.
Ooh.
Or they're just chilling out waiting for the next.
Is there how like bat poop is valuable?
Oh yeah, eagle guano.
Is there anything to that?
I don't know. I bet there would be. It's full of fish.
Probably good nutrients for growing weed.
Yeah, maybe.
You should collect it and sell it to growers.
Maybe.
You're like, this is pure bald eagle poop.
There you go, man. Hey, I'm down.
What would the name be? Like,
I don't know, but
okay,
we're really lucky.
We gotta wrap this up.
We're really lucky that they don't shit while they fly.
Okay.
So when we're sitting there, there's 300 eagles flying around us.
Really, they don't.
We
Other
don't need
birds
umbrellas.
do.
Oh yeah, other birds shit while they fly.
Why don't they shit?
So it's kind of cool that they don't, because when they're situated in the trees, it's kind of like the famous old term, lighten your load. We'll see them do their big projectile shit, and then they take off. So it's an indicator for these photographers. They're kind of like,
they're close.
It's going to happen.
Do they go,
no,
fresh this way?
They see it. Take this, and then they're like, it's going to fly, right? So, yeah.
Oh, and that's the takeoff moment. That's probably a nice shot.
Yeah. But I got to shout out real quick.
Okay, let's shout it out.
My queen, BB, and the queen, the lioness. There you go.
Okay, and let's do some. This is your new T-shirts here too. These are dope images. So you can. This one's from. He gave me this, and this is this a local restaurant?
So this is Jimmy Judd Island, which we call Eagle Island. It's situated right in front of Nanook Lodge. That's where all this eagle magic happens, and so that's why I come up with these customized shirts.
That's your design?
The Hake buffet, right? So
you made that?
I made that, yeah.
Wow.
I got 2 more coming, and I'll definitely show them to you.
That's cool, dude. That's some nice imagery.
This is our lodge
this is
logo.
your new image for the lodge.
Yes, sir.
So Nanook Lodge, you guys can check it out. You got Instagram. What's that about?
Instagram, Nanook Lodge. Yeah.
What's there's no nookie like Nanookie?
No nookie like Nanookie. Ain't no nookie like Chinookie either. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got it all.
What does Nanookie mean?
Nanook,
you know what nookie means, right? Have you heard?
I think so.
Is that what happens on that island?
My dad years ago, his favorite animal is a polar bear.
Really?
And so he saw this article in some magazine that was Nanook of the North, and spelled non-traditionally, and that's okay, And so, anyways, he made that the name of his boat originally, and then his call sign on the radio, Nanook.
Okay.
And then finally he said, okay, well, we're going to start this lodge, and venture down this path, and basically we need a logo, we need to name it something, and he had a bunch of friends calling it Spanky's Roadhouse and all kinds of weird stuff. And so he just said, no, we're going to name it Nanook Lodge, and we're going to put sunglasses on that bear.
What was his name on the radio? Nanook or Nana?
Nanook.
Nanook,
yeah.
And how did you get Skana? Did you choose that name, or was that given to you?
People in the area know that I have a big passion for killer whales and the orcas around, and so I did.
You're locked in for life with Skana?
Yeah, I'm locked in, man.
Because you could change it. You'd be like, yo, start calling me shiny skin. I don't know. What else would be a good fish one? Fast. I don't know. Well, what would you be if you couldn't be Skana? What would be the next one?
Well, you know what I like is my new boat name, Hold Fast.
Hold Fast.
Which is an old sailor
term.
Hold
my beer fast. I'll be right back.
It's an old sailor term, but at the same time, there's...
What does it mean?
It means like basically, it means to be strong and holding your line strong.
It's a fishing terminology?
Yeah, well, like an old sailor term, right?
Yeah.
And so you see guys with like hold fast on their knuckles and things like that.
Are sailors always fishers?
No, but I mean...
But hold your line, for the big...
For mooring or sailing, it's like hold fast, right?
Do you do any of that?
I have.
Sailing? You're pretty skilled if you know your way around the sailboat.
I got my day skipper ticket. I could take out like a 40-footer and for the day. And
what's the longest you've been on the ocean without going back to sea?
I've never been on any big kind of transoceanic crossings or anything like that. So I've anchored up, for 4 or 5 nights out in the ocean before.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because I did that for 7 days on a boat, and I would be standing here and I'd just be going like this, dude, for a month after. Right, it was so weird. Right. I couldn't, it was really... I was hoping it would go away. And
a lot of guests that'll go into take a shower.
What is that called? Sea legs?
Yeah, you get your sea legs.
Or you get your sea legs.
You have to get your sea legs. It takes a few days
to get them back to land legs.
Yeah.
But on the boat.
Well,
and to work
on the boat, you have your sea legs so you can kind of stabilize yourself. But then you come back to the shore and you get in the shower or something, some confined space, and all of a sudden you feel like you're in the ocean again. And
so, my equilibrium, I was wobbling.
It's like vertigo or
Yeah, it was like this rock. Yeah. I don't know. We slept on a boat for 7 days. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, dude, this is probably the longest podcast, but you know what? Can we just do, maybe we should have you back and do a hunting. You're very versed in everything, dude. But what advice would you have for someone who is getting into hunting and, as a beginner, it's kind of intimidating maybe a little bit for some people, guns and shooting an animal, but
right.
What advice do you have?
Well, I'd just say first off, in all regards, it's in my world, it's each to their own. And so I'm not going to, contest anyone else's, ways or means of going about, hunting. I'm definitely not a trophy guy. I'm a meat guy. Yep. And I love the experience. Mm-hmm. And so what I would say to people who are starting out in that realm is, do your research and really study the animal that you're going to pursue, and also the environment that it lives in. Because what you're going to find is you're going to learn a lot and you're going to experience a lot if you kind of almost become one with that environment, as opposed to going in with, your full, camo and your orange and all your stuff and your gun and this and that, and you're just trying to go up there and shoot something and take it off the mountain. It's more about, that experience when you go up there and you kind of, breathe the same air and you look at all the ecology around you, and you become one with that area. And, your experience is really going to be defined by how happy you are at the end of the day. So it's not necessarily for me about how much, meat I've taken off the mountain or what I've killed or whatever else. I just had an epic 5-day hunt on private, and I did not get my bull.
Is it like a spiritual experience in any way, or like a meditative, or is it?
I think it is. I think, safety first for sure. Yeah. But I think at the same time, there's this aspect to it that's, you're out there in nature, and you basically, it's a spiritual experience.
You're not watching TV at night.
The mountain is my church. I mean, that's what I truly believe, and in the ocean as well. But it's something where if you're going to go out and get into hunting, it's kind of like do all the research and all the legwork, and then go out there and experience it in the field. And don't expect to go up there and get something first thing, and don't expect that that's all you're going to do. A lot of people go out and they only have a week to hunt for a whole year. It's like, no, go out there and do some recon.
Mm-hmm.
Go up there in the off season, check it out, see how it is in the summer, see how it is in the winter. See where the animals go, see what happens.
Yeah,
so a lot of that kind of stuff that really makes the experience better.
So do you pack in? And go home each day, or do you camp out on the site sometimes?
Traditionally, I do like a spike camp or a camp that's way out there in the sticks and kind of off the beaten path, and that's the way I prefer it. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, every night you come in, you got to figure out a way to dry out your boots. You got to figure out what you're going to have for dinner. There's all these different things.
Yeah, you're surviving a bit,
you're
and everyone's chipping in like something, right? You're
all
working. Get someone build a fire.
That's another big aspect to it. You have your hunting crew, and it's like you full of camaraderie and the building of the camp and who's responsible for what and how this is going to go down. And so anyways, this last hunt I did on private, I didn't bring anything home, but I still feel really good about the experience. And one thing that I love to do, which I would encourage people to try and sneak up on a deer or an elk. Just try and sneak up on one.
Not happening.
Just watch it for a while.
Okay.
If you can get up there and sneak up on something and it doesn't see you, then you've done.
I could in my neighborhood.
You've done your job.
I have a video of them eating my cushions on my new swing I put out front, and I had to yell at the elk. It was like biting my brand new cushions. I put it down, dude. And
are they they're scratch and sniff?
Yeah, they're all flavored, just
cushions?
Hanging out. All the babies and all the elk and the big elk, all in my neighborhood, dude. There's elk shit everywhere. Right on.
I know. I've seen it. It's a cool place. It's evergreen.
I was gonna ask you. Okay, one more thing. Could you start a fire without matches, out in the woods? How would you do that?
I have done this.
How?
I have done this. Well, there's a couple of different means of doing it. You can have your nap and your flint. Your flint where you're creating a spark.
Okay, so you need that. You have to bring that with you.
You have to bring that with you. A magnifying glass. That's another way.
That's an essential, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
what would you bring? What if you had nothing? Could you start a fire?
It would be hard. But you could do the old traditional way where you kind of create a bow. And
have you ever done that?
I've done it. I've tried it. And
successful?
I've had a couple of times when I've been successful and a bunch of times where I haven't.
Really?
Been. But it takes a lot of work. And the thing that you learn is when you're doing that in a survival situation, you're going to get tired and hungry and cold and all the things.
You burn all your energy.
Yeah. So before you do that, you got to make sure that you are spinning that right, and you've created that tool right, and everything is going to work out in the end.
Have you ever seen it this way?
Yeah, I've seen it both ways. Yeah. I'm blanking on the name right now of that horizontal way, but
flint. Is there rocks that you bang together? Because I've banged 2 rocks out here in Colorado, and there's sparks.
Created a spark. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can do that. I kind of like the, even here in Colorado with so much sun and everything, and if you time it right, the magnifying glass.
Oh yeah,
easy.
Yeah, shit to burn easy with that.
Yeah.
So, I wonder if you can use water out in nature to get that somehow. If you had a bag. If you just had a plastic bag,
magnifier,
filled it with water, and then did that.
So check this out. One time at our lodge, this is really random, but we had a big apple cider jug, a clear jug with the one ring kind of handle on the top.
Yeah.
And I had a few of those out, and you could set a solar light in them, and they look kind of cool at nighttime. And this one had half it's half full of water. Well, it was sitting on this rail, and the sun was hitting it at the right angle.
Yeah.
And the railing started smoking behind it.
Wow.
And someone happened to be there, thank God. And so, anyways, railing's smoldering, but that's a natural fire starter.
That happened to me with those things right there. I left one of those sculptures in the front seat of my car, or Kyle's car, accidentally. and it burned a line through the interior.
No way.
Yeah, it like magnified. It could have started a fire.
See,
like
you
it
could
burned a line.
You could make me some fire starters, man.
Just a little marble. Like
Yeah.
if you carry a marble, a clear one in your pocket, you could probably get it going.
I like it.
All right, man. Well, we've done 2 hours now.
Wow.
I think so. So we're gonna, put your links to your lodge and stuff. And yeah, if you're looking for I've been there. It's real peaceful, really nice. You catch your fresh food that day. Mushroom hunting too. We've been, and
Yeah.
it's really cool for a group of guys to go out, bachelor party. I don't know. Nice little lodge there.
Well, thank you, man. And I gotta say, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's always good to reconnect.
It's great to see
brother.
you. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Every year you come back and
yeah. I also
didn't
want
get
to
so
say,
lucky this year.
well, just shout out to the glass community. If you guys ever
Shout
want,
out glass community.
if you guys want, some cool inspiration for, landscape, scenic, animals. I know that, that's one of your big themes in your life.
There's
coming up
the
to my
whale guy,
place.
Chad Lacey. Chad, you should go out and check out this for inspiration. Do you guys go under the water and see it, like scuba diving, or?
I do. I've done my fair share of scuba, but we do have some underwater cameras and things we mess around with.
Really?
So especially doing this new photography venture. People are bringing up these 360 cams and all kinds of underwater stuff.
It probably capture so much.
It's cool.
Even if you brought like macro lenses and just on a smaller scale, I'm sure there's those mushrooms would be cool to photograph, and like little tiny wildlife that's out there.
Yeah, the moss and all that stuff.
The colors out there are beautiful.
We're open doors, open arms.
Yeah, it's a quick flight from Seattle, so you just
So-
meet up in Seattle and it was 2 hours, not even.
Yeah, 2 hours.
Yeah, it was fun. It was exhilarating. You land right on the water, smoothest landing I've ever had in a plane because it's cushy.
Mm-hmm.
I was worried.
Good
though,
means
dude.
of travel, man.
I was kind of like scared, dude. On the way home, it was just like a one propeller.
Right.
But
Single prop. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, man. Well, thank you for coming in, dude. And I guess I hope you guys learned something about nature here with Sam. We will see you next time.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Later.
Peace.
Woo! We did it.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Robertson Stash podcast. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to support us, please hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, we want to hear from you. So if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to reach out. Hit the website, hit the link. We'll see you next time.